Hey, this is Kyle Hembree's talk on strengths for StrengthsFinder 2.0. And I'm going to start off talking about my top five strengths. My top five strengths are deliberative, strategic, context, adaptability, and self assurance. Um, I first started out looking at these. And like when I first read them, my first reaction for like deliberative was it said it's a person that gets things done, and that's kind of me, but I mean not necessarily. But then I started looking a little bit deeper, and I found that the deeper meaning was a little bit more accurate towards myself, and then as like I kept reading on, I started wondering what these are going to do for my life. And when I came to the discovery that these things are not necessarily just like 100% me, but helping me find out who I am. Like, for example, in strategic, I found a lot of relatance towards myself, and there was validity to it because I am a very strategic person. I like to look at things in a very different perspective. Um, like when some people want to look at it and say, "How do you go around this?" I maybe look at it and say, "Well, how can I go over it, or through it, or under it?" I constantly am looking for a different way to do things. Sometimes better, sometimes not, but I like taking the journey and seeing what I can learn from that. My next one is context, which is it's kind of the same as strategic, but it's looking at the past of a lot of. I mean, it's looking at the past situation, seeing how I can learn from the past, and that's I think that's semi true because I do look at the past, but it's not necessarily what I would say is true to myself, but it's close just because it relates a lot to strategic. Um, my next one is adaptability, which I agree with, but on to a certain level, um, because it says by nature I realize that each day offers its own surprise, and I do live day to day, and I find that it's a much more appealing life for me. Maybe not sometimes the most productive, but it works itself out. And what I thought was very interesting was the combination of adaptability and self assurance, because the other part of the definition of adaptability is the ability to go with the flow. And then self assurance is someone who has a inner compass that allows them to go with whatever they feel is right, which I find these two to be very interesting because I am the kind of person that can go with the flow, but if I find that it needs to change or that I need to do something different, I do have that strong inner clock or compass that will allow me to follow it or do what I wish to do. Um, and I think like the strengths that relate a lot are strategic and context, but also strategic and self assurance because strategic is a way to go about things differently or look at all possible ways to execute a situation. and self-assurance then will give me that strength to move forward. Um, I hope that these 5 strengths do increase over time because I find them to be useful core strengths for me, given what I've experienced. And I also hope that, I mean, he says that the book says that your strengths don't change, they just grow. And I don't necessarily know if that's true or not, but I'm hoping that they don't change. And I'm hoping that I see myself become more self assured or more deliberative, because I would really like to be able to get things done at a more efficient pace and be able to see people for their fine details. And yeah, so this is my TED video, my strengths in under 6 minutes, which it's not.